Eżis semmija jiena Rosalba nilqakom u nistedinkom issegwu programmi ieħor naturali ftit minuti ta' tarif dwar il-ħolqien ta' madwarna. Infakkarkom li dan il-programm qed jittella minn Radio Marija b'kollaborazzjoni ma' BirdLife Malta u produzzjoni ta' Jason Aloisio. Fil-programm tal-lum se nlaqgħukom ma' Hannah Chisholm. Is-Sierra Leone hu pajjiż żgħir fil-punent tal-Afrika. Ftit anqas minn 40% tal-art hija mottija bil-foresti, iżda l-firxa tal-imsaġar qiegħda dejjem tonqos. F'Ġunju tal-2005 ir-Royal Society for the Protection of Birds u BirdLife International bdew proġett ta' konservazzjoni u użu sostenibbli ta' Gola, l-aktar fdal importanti tar rainforests fis-Sierra Leone. Dwar dan il-proġett nisimgħu aktar fl-intervista tal-lum li Jason Aloisio għamel ma' Hannah Chisholm, manager għall-edukazzjoni ma' BirdLife Malta.
Fl-intervista tal-lum se niltaqgħu ma' Hannah Chisholm li hija Education Manager ma' BirdLife Malta. Hija ħadmet ukoll fatt ta' pajjiżi l barra mill-Ewropa fejn kisbet esperjenza fil-qasam tal-edukazzjoni ambjentali u l-konservazzjoni tan-natura. Wieħed mill-pajjiżi li ħadmet fih huwa s-Sierra Leone. Hannah, thank you for accepting to share some of your experiences with the listeners of this program, and I would like to start by asking you how you developed your love for nature.
So I feel like I've just always had a love for nature. I remember when I was a child, my parents, every weekend, we'd have walks in the countryside. When we took our holidays, we'd be out camping in natural places. And just my free time from school, I'd be playing games out in the street with my local friends. So I think just time spent outdoors doing fun activities made me appreciate that space and that environment.
As I've already said, one of the countries where you've worked is in Sierra Leone. What can you tell us about this country, which is probably so far away from Malta?
So Sierra Leone is a country in West Africa. And yes, it's a world away from Malta. It's a world away from the UK, where I'm originally from. But it's an amazing country. It's beautiful, it's colourful, it's full of vibrant people and plants and animals. The area where I was working, we were alongside a rainforest. So there you find chimpanzees and other monkeys. There's pygmy hippos, which are much smaller than the main hippos. But it's all very secretive animals. So if you go into the rainforest there, you hardly see the animals, but it's thriving with life.
And what would a rainforest be like?
So a rainforest would be full of all sorts of different trees and plants. Very dense vegetation, so that's why you can't easily see the animals that are there, because there's many places for them to hide away and to find their homes.
So it's mostly like hearing the sounds, but
yes.
Not seeing the birds.
Yes, so you'll hear sounds of the birds, you'll hear rustling of the monkeys, but unless you come into a clearing or an open area, it's unlikely that you get to see them because they're very secretive.
And why is it called a rainforest?
So it's called a rainforest because the vegetation there is very dense and the country is very close to the equator. It means that the weather systems that they have there, it does rain regularly. So even during
almost every day, for example.
Even during the dry season, there is some rain, but mostly the country has a rainy season. So for half of the year, it rains every day, and that means that it supports so much abundance of life because all of the plants can grow because of the rain that's supporting them.
And is it very hot?
It's very hot. It's very hot, it's very dry, so not as humid. Well, I say not as humid as Malta, but actually it is very humid there as well. You still get this situation where your clothes are getting mouldy from the damp. But when it's the dry season, very dusty. So the roads, they're not tarmacked apart from like one street in the main town. So it's just dust coming up everywhere, or in the rainy season, a lot of mud. A lot of mud.
Which makes travelling probably...
Makes travelling very difficult. So I was based in the town closest to the rainforest, but every day a journey to a school in a small village by the rainforest would be a very long and difficult journey.
It would be like a sort of a challenge every day.
Yes, it would be like the competitions that you can go into when you're in a four-wheel drive and you have to drive off-road. That was the normal journey.
Now, back to the project which you were involved in. First of all, what was the habitat that the project was trying to protect? Was it the rainforest?
It was the rainforest, yes. So there was a number of villages that lived very close to the rainforest, and so therefore these people, they depended on the rainforest for their livelihood. But that also meant...
In what ways?
It also meant that they put pressure on the rainforest. So it was things like they would collect firewood, they would collect bushmeat, they would collect plants for medicines. And some of this use is fine because it is sustainable, but when too much is taken, then it can damage the rainforest. And when areas of the forest are cleared away completely for example, the villager to plant more farm, then it's very damaging to the habitat and to the animals that are living there.
And what was the project you were involved in?
So the project that I was involved in was setting up education work for the project. And the project was called Gola Rainforest National Park, after the name of the rainforest which is there. So when I was there, we had two key areas of work. Firstly, we worked in schools. So schools are very different to schools here. It's a building which is completely open to the outdoors. Children try to come to school, but it depends on the pressure that they have to support their family, and the level of education is much lower. So we were supporting the schools to have a basic level of education, but also specifically to learn about the forest, we set up nature clubs. So it's where we got together an interested group of students from the school, and we trained their teachers so that once per week they could run an activity with them, either at the school or going into the forest, because it's always very close, where they could learn more about the natural habitat which is so close for them.
So even though these children are living close or in the rainforest itself, there would still be gaps sort of in their knowledge about the nature and the habitat of these forests.
Yeah, very much so. So there would be children that even though their village was a stone's throw away from the forest, they hadn't actually been into the forest and looked around. They might have been sent to collect firewood or something, but normally that was maybe done by the older children or the parents, and so they just hadn't had the opportunity to look at the plants and animals that were in the habitat at all.
But do they see it as a dangerous place, for example?
Not really, no. They see, because the wildlife which is there, they're not at the point which some other countries are, where the wildlife comes out and raids the farms, because that happens more when the habitat has been very damaged, so it's too reduced, and so the animals come to the farm looking for food. That doesn't really happen at the moment in this place where I was, in Sierra Leone. So mostly it's an unknown area rather than a scary area.
And what was your role in this project?
So I was developing the Sierra Leonean education personnel that work for the project, so that once I was gone they could continue the project. So we developed resources and training for the staff, and as well as the project in schools, we also ran we called it a community roadshow. So we would go into the village and set up in their I forget their name now, but it's like a village hall but with no walls, so it's just a roof where the community can gather, and we would put on videos for them, which was amazing because nobody has a TV out in the villages, and we would do presentations and quizzes, and just that people had come and were showing an interest, the whole village would attend. And at the end we always ended playing music for them so they could dance, which was just a real treat. So they felt that they were benefiting from attending what they didn't even maybe realise was educating them about the forest. And in the long run, the project hopes to, or plans to, develop more community development projects. So not only educating the people as to the need to protect the habitat, the rainforest, but also supporting them to do so. So, for example, working with a local farmer so that he can use his farm in the most effective way, rather than him needing to cut more rainforest for more land. Or supporting someone to make something which they could sell at the market to create income, so they don't depend on the rainforest as much.
We have only just a couple of seconds left, so very, very quickly. Do you think now that you've moved away from this project, that the project itself has been effective in its objectives?
I hope that it has been. Sierra Leone has obviously had a lot of difficulty recently with Ebola, so that has happened since I left. And obviously that hit them very hard and affected people. But I have heard since, from keeping in contact with colleagues, that they're now starting going back into the communities again, and the work is continuing with the Sierra Leone personnel that I worked with and helped to develop their skills. So hopefully the project will continue to grow.
Tajjeb, mela fl-intervista li għadna kif smajna Hannah Chisholm tkellmet dwar l-esperjenza tagħha fil-pajjiż Afrikan ta' Sierra Leone. Hija ħadmet rip rainforest fejn fost l-oħrajn jgħixu ċimpanżiż u l-ippopotami nani. Rip il-foresta hemm bosta rħula u n-nies jużaw il-foresta kemm biex jiġbru l-injam ħalli jsajru fuqu kif ukoll għall-kaċċa u l-ġbir ta' pjanti mediċinali. Sakemm kollox isir bil-qis ma ssirx ħsara, iżda meta l-pressjoni tal-bniedem fuq il-foresta tiżdied l-aktar minħabba tqaċċit u l-qerda ta' medet ta' siġar, in-natura tibda tbati. Il-proġett li ħadmet Hannah fih kien jinvolvi twaqqif ta' klabs tfal, żjarat fl-iskejjel u ħarġiet fil-foresta. Flimkien ma' ħaddiema oħra kienet torganizzaw kollha laqgħat tan-nies tal-irħula. Minkejja li jgħixu tant qrib il-foresta, in-nies ftit li xejn huma familjari mal-ħajja naturali sinjura li tgħix fiha. Il-proġett kellu lan li jitfalu l-kbar jitalmu japprozzaw aktar il-foresta u wkoll jitalmu kif jużaw ir-riżorsi tagħha b'mod sostenibbli. U b'dak it-tarif wasalna fit-tmiem il-programm Naturali għallum, infakkarkom li dan il-programm jiġi mtella minn Radio Marija b'kollaborazzjoni ma' BirdLife Malta, jixxandar l-ewwel darba l-ġimgħa fit-8:15 u jiġi mtenni 3 fit-3:30 ta' filgħodu. Jien Rożalba l-darbohra nsellmilkom u nagħmel appuntament magħkom għal bħallum ġimgħa għal programm ieħor Naturali.